What is going on? Would it make sense to have the Benny test print the failed levels on the screen while still running? Maybe. The thing is, it says it in the log. So if I really want to know which levels failed, I can just look in the log. So it doesn't really have to be on the, in fact, it's better if it's in the log because then I can like copy and paste the level name or whatever. Okay, well, this whole thing that I spent 20 minutes last night trying to figure out, in fact, took actually 2 minutes once I was awake and not tired. So, uh, yeah, the jump handler kicked in. So now we are no longer falling when we finish. I don't know why we're not walking though between the lily pads. That's weird. Let's see that. It says controller proc. Oh, because the thing that animates is separate. All right, let's fix that. Hmm, actually, so actually we want to not do any of this. Oh, wait, no, we want to not do any of this. So this sets this handled variable. And when we set that handled variable, we don't do this down here, which is the default walking that happens. Do we have multi-threading support? Yeah, that doesn't, I mean, it's not a thing. All right, look, we fixed in 4 minutes what took me a long time last night. Great. Now I get to delete my other things. What was the other thing? I get to clean up my mess from last night, but that's good because we're not doing the slightly messy thing. We found a better way. Okay, so this whole thing that I did, I think I think I could do this. I think I would rather do it that way, even though like both ways are not ideal. In the wrong. Oh, because I pasted that somewhere else. This is in commit transaction. The deferred removals are in do physical moves. Yeah. All right, so we're going to say that. Oh, that's a entity ID. All right. Does this work? May not work. Seems like it's working fine. All right. Yeah. I mean, this wasn't an all-nighter problem. Like most of our stream last night, we definitely fixed things that in a good way, I think. It's just at the end, I started doing something and I did this thing where I didn't completely investigate why the problem was happening. I just sort of assumed something about why it was happening that wasn't true. Um, and then I implemented this whole thing and got the same result in the end. And I was like, oh, that's not right. So we get to remove this stuff that I did, this merge stepping variables, right? Which is good because they started polluting a lot of code. So now I have to go and get rid of those. Like we had all these extra return values and they had to get returned correctly in by putting them in there, which I'm not even sure. Like that's a thing that could decay later if we have more return points and forget to set that. Um, so, okay. All right, 13 there. Okay, we now have something pretty reasonable for the base case of this, just the guy moving around on diagonal lilies. Um, let's go to debug garden level, which is going to run slow in debug build. No, it's not that slow. Switch to this guy, make sure he can still do it, which it's basically the same case. So this is all good. I mean, he slips a little bit, but that is probably related to that's a kind of a little bit of slipping that happens in other cases as well. So I don't think it's specific to this. It's just like what happens when you're walking onto something that's moving in a complex way, and do we want to do something more elaborate about tracking that? Um, and I think it's also worse at a low frame rate because our controller isn't really frame rate independent. But this is good. This is much better than what we had. Um, we don't yet detect cases like the dragon thing we did last night. We also don't detect trying to push a block across this, which we may want. We'll see. But at least the base player moving across it is like a good thing. We've never been able to do that in the whole history of this game. And now we can. So is the 2 by 2 case the worst case? So any smearing to the right place is the worst it could ever be in the 2 by 2 case. I'm not sure. I could think of reasons why it might be the worst case. Um, I honestly don't actually know. Yeah, I don't know. Um, like the support tracking stuff in this code is the most complicated part of the movement transaction system. And I would, it's hard to think about, honestly, right now, because there's a lot of different things happening. The rest of it, this is the ironic part, like the part that actually, most of the part that actually maintains the integrity of gameplay and like does transaction reversions and whatever on the actual gameplay state, not that hard to think about. Um, the part that does support is hard to think about. But um, I think before that complexity was more inherent in the system was just doing some sloppy things and we were hoping that it worked out. And so I wasn't thinking as much about it, but that also meant that it was more guaranteed to be wrong and do bad things. Whereas now we're like explicitly saying what should happen and it is behaves very well now. Now the question is there a way that I can look at that and figure out how to rephrase the way everything goes so that it's not as complicated in terms of amount of code and not as hard to think about? And the answer is I'm not sure. I need to see how that develops. Part of it is just that I work on so much code in so many different places that like I don't really remember because I did this over the course of like, I don't know. I started doing it a little bit in December and did it a little in January, February, March. I don't remember what all the, I mean, I remember basically what it is, but I don't remember all the little things that had to go in to make it work. And so maybe a first step at some, which I'm not going to do today, but maybe a first step is factor it in a way where all those little things are put together in one spot. So anytime I go look at them, like I can see them in one spot, and then that just helps your mind play with things, right? Is if you can actually see them. Um, but right now, what I want to do is there are a few maybe tiny tiny robustness bits that I want to make sure that we handle. But let me get some water first. Are there any other on-topic gameplay or technical questions about specifically what we're doing? I realize if you just came on the stream and didn't see last night's stream, you maybe have no idea what we're doing, but that's fine. If you saw the long discussion video with me and Sean, we're doing diagonal lily handling. We're doing a difficult movement case that came up in this game that, it's a kind of problem most games just don't have. Will the player be able to move much easier onto and off lilies? Well, not exactly. That is something that we did a while ago that's covered in the discussion video that I talked about. Um, what this is making it possible to move in a way that when you're in a continuous space, it looks like you should be able to do. But if you're in a discrete puzzle space, you actually would not be able to do. So do I think I have to rework the movement system? No. No, it's good. I mean, we just solved the problem that we had within the current movement system. It's all good. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to make diagonal lily here. Okay. So merge. Well, no, not that. I want the assignment of this merge with. So what I want to do, this thing should merge with two lilies are in a chain and they're both halfway to the next square and you're trying to move diagonally onto them. Would it matter which one you get put onto? There's only one of them can be moving into the target square that you're trying to move into. There's not really a case where you could be trying to move onto either of them. That's just not a thing. Because the lilies, I mean, they have to be moving anti-parallel, so they both have to be in the same direction. So like you're talking about a thing where there's two above you and then yours is here between them and you're going north. And what, like being halfway between a square visually doesn't really matter. What matters is what square are you actually in right now when we do this check. And that'll be consistent with whatever square those lilies are in. So uh, either either one of them will still be in that square above you, and then you'll just move on to that one normally, and we don't invoke diagonal lily movement, or um, or no, I guess if they're offset, wait, okay, either you'll actually be to the left of the first one at the start, right? And then you'll go on to the first one, or you'll be between them and then you go on to the second one because the first one is actually can't be going to the square that you're on. If you draw it out, it makes sense. Okay, so here we're checking to make sure that it's a Lily transaction, but that doesn't actually mean that much because there are supported entities in the Lily transaction, and we actually just, after we merge with it, we throw a bunch of stuff in there. Um, so what I want to do is say, um, We're just making sure that this is a lily. That's all. That's all we're doing right there. Okay. Let's make sure that still works first of all, and then we can involve other things or other test cases, right? So it looks fine. Okay. Next. Let's try putting a block on the other thing, and we'll see if that does anything scary. Okay, that was very bad. Well, we're not done. Oh, geez. Right. This is a whole other can of worms, I guess. So we're not detecting, normally in this standard movement code, you look at, hey, what are the things that we're going to push, for example, right? The problem is, oh, I don't know. I might want to think about how to do this. The problem is, I didn't think about this. The problem is when we do pushes, we're looking at current gameplay state, not gameplay state after the transaction has committed. So the object, the rock is still in the wrong square when we look for it, so it's not detected. Um, but we have to detect it. And well, okay, so the simplest thing we could do right now is just see if there's anything on that lily, and if there is, just don't do the diagonal lily trick, right? So that'll prevent us from having something bad happening here, but it won't let us push the block off. And the thing is, I'm not sure I want us to be able to push the block off because it's not really well defined where it goes. I mean, I guess it is. I guess it has to go in the target square because that's where you show up. You never go in the source square of the second lily. So it would have to be pushed in this case, in the case that I just did, it would have to be pushed to the right from the target square. And the thing is, oh my God, dude, um, that is not that easy. So for now, just so that we can call success on this very limited case, we're just going to say that's not okay. If any space filling thing is supported by this lily, don't allow diagonal lily merge since we haven't yet decided how to manage the gymnastics of making that happen. Okay. So okay, if it's not a support move, continue, right? Um, break. Break, not this loop, break target single, the outer loop. All right, it's not, oh, is that in the move info, really? It is. Interesting. Just have the editor not allow putting rocks on lilies, but players can put rocks on lilies. Okay. So now, yeah, now it is not allowing me to do it, which is good. But not ideal, honestly. We would like to be able to handle this, but you know what? It's already a big step being able to handle it without the rock. So I'm going to just let myself think about how might I do the rock thing? Because I don't actually. So there's two basic approaches that we could take there. One is to make the system generally handle that case, which could be very scary, right? um, because it could involve, you know, I don't exactly know, like the thing that assembles the list of things that you're pushing, because it could be a long line of things that you're pushing, um, happens in um, happens in a thing that also says whether you can go into a certain spot. So it's this relatively I don't know about heavy duty routine, but it's a core routine that a lot of people use, right? And we'd be talking about maybe making that more complicated in some way where um, we don't just when we ask if you can go into a square, we don't just look at the current world state. Ugh, what? My iPad is phone ringing. Why is that happening? Apple, stop it. Um, So we would have to be doing a bunch of complicated stuff there, and I'm not sure that's a good idea to be doing that. An alternative solution is just to slightly expand the envelope of what we decide to handle in a diagonal lily case. Like, okay, maybe there's something on the target lily and we push it off and it's one object only and the space you're pushing it into is unoccupied. Then in that case, we add a push in this exact square that we know where it is, right? Um, that is something that we could do. And that is probably much easier to do. It doesn't require structural change. It is a little bit more error prone in some other ways though, like, well, maybe it's not. Maybe the code around this is good enough that you can do this without really introducing a lot more errors. It's more movement code, which is not great, but I would say more leaf movement code is better than more core movement code. So maybe that's a win. Um, but it also just doesn't handle the general problem, right? It just handles one more specific thing. But that might be the right thing here. But I want to give myself time to think about that. I don't actually know what's the right thing. And for now, this is really good. This is the main problem that we had was this right here. Like the player cannot do this at all. Now that the player can do this, um, we can think about some other stuff. And then there's other cases, right? Like we showed last night, if there's a dragon on that other lily pad, it never breathes on you. It's like, well, do we want to deal with that? It's also that happens with goblins. Like goblin wouldn't kill you ever because he's always diagonal to you. Um, do we want to write special cases to deal with that? Maybe. We'll just have to see. Like we know that we have the capability to do that. Like the system will do it. The question is, do we want to add some code to do these things that might be messy, or do we just kind of live with them not happening? Could you check if it's valid to move on to the lily not blocked in the target square, even though the move starts before it's there? We do all that stuff, dude. Like that, if you watch the video that somebody just linked a while back in chat, the system, the whole point of it is to do things like that. How does this diagonal movement look like in the gameplay state? Does this guy teleport diagonally? Um, no, he does not move diagonally because that could result in very surprising weird things. What happens is so let me when I get to the upper right corner, I'll do a move, right? So what happens is I'm just going from this corner where I'm standing to the one below me, all right? And swapping lilies at the same time. That was an especially ugly animation move there, but Um, so it's just I'm moving on to that thing. I'm allowing me to initiate a move, even though there's no lily there in the gameplay state, but fusing that with the lily transaction such that my guy will always be standing on a lily at all times, right? That's all. So he's not actually moving diagonally in gameplay state in any way, and that's why this is a solution to the problem. Um, is the diagonal move control like an upload? No, there is no diagonal move control. I'm just going horizontally or vertically. When I say diagonal lily, it's that the lilies themselves are in a diagonal configuration, not that the guy moves diagonally. All right, I'm going to mark this. I'm going to mark this as green for now in the actual bug garden. Um, but leave a note because the base case of this is now handled, but more complex cases, e.g., um, a stone on the target really work. Updated. Okay. We're definitely going to have to draw these notes more. We're going to have a different note drawing policy. If you move across too late, you assume he ends up sinking. No, he doesn't sink, he just can't go. We don't want people to sink if they get the timing wrong. That's lame. So he just can't go in that case. All right, so now the thing to do is run a Benny test to make sure we didn't break anything. That'll take like frickin' 20 minutes at this point on a laptop. Maybe a little less since we managed to turn off the antivirus. And then maybe we'll check in. We got rid of all our no check-ins, I think. And that'll be a good victory, and then I can go to breakfast, get some breakfast. You make the grid finer, so there's actually a point where the guy in the lily. No, no, that's the entire gameplay of this game depends on the fact that there aren't like subgrids like that. If you start introducing that, then players have to like think about that, and you're in a bad territory. Okay, we're cranking. Download an app to turn off most of the mitigations. I mean, oh, you mean like the BIOS stuff, like the um, anti-specter kind of things? Uh-oh, that was weird. What level was that? Wolfbow Strand. Okay, we're not gonna look into that now. The level still succeeded, but wow, we get a lot of those. Oh, there's some levels where we just drop a ton of rocks. So that might be what those are. Yeah, I actually wonder how much our performance is suffering from that. Uh-oh, that was weird. But most of these look like expected fails. How's it going today, everybody? What is up? Found 6 bugs in your game so far. Well, hopefully that doesn't mean there are 6 million. Hopefully it means you're getting a lot of the bugs out. Wrote a really complicated sprite processing utility and it worked on the first try. Well, that's good. That's always nice. Working on game UI code. Why is it always so horrible compared to gameplay code? You know, there's something about that where I think at some point you find your style of doing UI code and it becomes less horrible. Um, Similarly with gameplay code though, like back in the 90s and early 2000s, everybody knew that like gameplay code was the most ugly, horrible thing. And then I don't know, I think we just got more ways of dealing with it and it became less ugly. I mean, there's lots of weird if statements in this game, but you know, it's not nearly as bad as it could be, I would say. So I don't know. I mean, I think the thing about UI code is, yeah, there's just a lot of it. I mean, the thing is that always confuses me with UI code is, you always have to have like 17 different numbers for the different dimensions of what's going on. Like, here's the margin size, and here's the percentage of the window that we're devoting to this thing, and then the button size is some relative size of that. And then you just start having all these things, and it just gets hard to think about all the things, right? That's to me the part that I don't like. And it becomes like you end up with, I'm adding 7 different numbers together, and then you come along to look at that later, and it's like, what, what, what are these numbers, right? Have we done more cleanup on Braid? Yeah, yeah, for sure. Just implement CSS. No, CSS is one of the worst ways to do UIs. Creating a game with Coco's 2DX engine. I don't even know what that is. It sounds like a Mac thing because it has Coco in it, but I don't know if that is true. For UI, it seems like adding animated transitions makes things 10 times worse. It doesn't really, like if you're immediate mode UI to begin with, it's not that bad. Trying to interpolate mouse positions for drawing. Catmull ROM splines kind of work, but have problems. Okay. I feel your pain. The thing that I always found when I was trying to do something like that is that the mouse is sampled way less than you would have thought. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe if somebody happens to have a specialist high sampling rate mouse, it's fine. But like, if the mouse samples are coming in 30 times a second or something, and you're just like moving it at a kind of a like, if you're moving it like this, that's actually a really spiky pattern, and your eye is doing most of the smoothing, right? So when you do that with splines, you're going to get really weird things. I honestly, I don't think splines are very good, generally speaking. I don't think they're a good way of doing pretty much anything. Okay, so for example, in the witness, we use splines to do the power cables. I wrote some, I think it was Catmull ROM because I believe I wanted it to exactly um, interpolate the points that you would lay out in the editor, right? I didn't want the loose kind of thing where the spline is vaguely near the point, right? Um, and then the problem is, of course, you get all these unnatural, weird looking things because like, if the knots are too close together over here and too far apart over here, you get like weird overshoots and all this stuff. And honestly, if I were to do the power cables in the witness again, I wouldn't use splines. I would do some kind of a mass spring system. Like I would emulate a rope physically, um, but it wouldn't be that hard to do because you don't have to worry about the simulator being like super stable during gameplay because the rope doesn't like animate during gameplay. Although once you have that rope, maybe you could let it move a little bit during gameplay and that would be fun, right? Anyway, I wouldn't use splines for that. Um, Honestly, I don't like splines. Now, could you do something like a rope-like thing for mouse movement? I don't know because it's a different case, right? Um, but I would be trying to think along that lines. I would not be trying to use splines. Like you can get the splines to be okay if you spend a lot of time massaging them. Um, but eh. That said, there are people have done a lot of spline stuff, and people have attacked all these problems before and have ostensible solutions for them that sometimes are very math heavy. But you can go look at what those solutions are. You know, um, it's just yeah, a default Catmull ROM spline is not going to look that good in many cases. What's for breakfast? I don't know. In terms of suggestions, what to look into, there's an out of print book that I have. I don't even remember the name of it. It was colloquially called the Killer Bees Spline Book. Spline. Spline. I don't, it's not this. It's not, It was called the Killer Bees book because the names of the authors were all the last name B, right? I don't, it's going to be hard. I don't know. Oh, we refer the interested reader to the Killer Bees book. Okay, there we go. This might be a little old. 111. How do I go to 111? Can I like do this in Google Books? That should be a link to a reference, right? Dude, okay. Anyway, this real-time rendering book has a reference to this spline book, right? Um, it might be a little bit dated at this point. And I don't know if you can get a copy of it. It was out of print when I got a copy of it, but yeah. I don't know how to follow a link in this. Which chapter is that? It's 17.6. It's the end of chapter 17, I think. Yeah, it's the very last paragraph of chapter 17. Your book only goes until 17.3? What? I guess you have the first edition or whatever. Maybe if I try Google Books, it'll let me. Okay, whatever. Whatever Google Books. Thanks. Oh, wait. This version of real-time rendering has it on a different page. 13.6. Do you have this version where 13.6 is efficient tessellation? That is correct. Okay, so it's called An Introduction to Splines for Use in Computer Graphics and Geometric Modeling by Bartels, Beatty, and Barsky. Okay, that book is pretty intense about splines. There might be better references now. I'm just saying that back a while ago when I was looking into splines, that was the book that had the most information, but it was also hard to get. Let's see if you can get it. Let's see. Introduction to Splines, Bartels, Beatty, Barsky. So Amazon, I guess, has it now. I guess they reprinted it. Wait, first edition? People apparently still have. So this claims, yeah, this is the copy of the book that I have right here. This is exactly what it looks like. Um, so apparently you can get a new first edition copy, but there's only one. Or no, 11 new down here. Okay. So I guess now in the age of the internet, it's easier to get this book. I think I bought this like before Amazon was so big. I bought it a long time ago. And then I guess there's a hardcover version as well. So it's not necessarily a recommendation of this book. I honestly don't remember most of what's in it, but I just remember it was the most high density source of information about splines at the time. It's on LibGen. Can you post a link? Sure. Yeah, I mean, if there's a version online that people can just read, then that's great. You don't have to buy it off Amazon. Oh, wait, if it's a pirate link, I don't know about that, man. That's not good. I thought you meant like an actual legit publicly released link. Like, I think if you can legitimately buy it, you shouldn't pirate it unless unless you think there's some ethical issue there. But in this case, I do not. That was a new level I haven't played, I think. Now, all this said, because I don't really remember most of what's in the Killer Bees spine book, um, it might mostly be about 3D, which would not help you with your mouse interpolation problem, but maybe some of it is applicable to 2D. I don't know. Do I think they're necessary if the world is static while waiting for player input? No. If all that can happen is doing things in response to player input and the player input is synchronous, like if you wait till the previous thing is done before the next input, then you don't need any of what we're doing here. Don't you still need to undo? Yeah, but that's a different thing. Undo is different from the transaction system here. Although you could imagine it being the same thing, I guess. It's just not the way it's done here, though. Yeah, if you wait for player input, you really don't have to worry about all this stuff. This is really only to deal with the fact that other things move in a timed fashion. Do I pay myself for time for this game? Like, am I managing a budget? I mean, there's definitely a budget for the whole game, but we're honestly not that um, like you got to pay for what you got to pay for to get the game done, and you don't know what that is in advance a lot of the time. Like, we know we're going to have to staff up an art team later. How big of an art team, I'm not sure. Right? We just have to see. And so, do I pay my salary? I mean, I get a salary from the company, yeah, but um, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. Do I enjoy watching people speed run The Witness? I had fun with that a couple times when it was early on and people were speed running it. I probably haven't seen the best speed runs at this point, just because I have a lot to do. I can't spend forever in the past. Got to be making the next things. Yeah, there's no publisher funding for this game. It's all funded by The Witness basically. That was new. Mm, did the X64 Heisenberg get fixed? Oh yeah, that got fixed a long time ago. That was handled. Well, I mean, I guess I'm not sure which one. Um, there was a more recent X64 bug from a couple weeks ago. That one also got handled. Yes. Okay. All right. How many fails did we get, or how many succeeds did we get? That's the question. We get 580 succeeds. See, people guessing 567, 566, you're thinking too small. We add things to the game, man. Um, so I'm not sure what's going on. So most of these are expected fails. Um, Druid multi-smash. I don't know what's going on there. Oh, okay. This is different. Here, I'm gonna check in and then I'll fix these and I'll talk about why those are broken. Why did I put the names of these levels here? I don't know. Anyway, I should have wrote down why. Um, Diagonal Lily movement hand in the simplest case. Great. Hopefully we didn't just break the game. All right. So now the reasons why these levels are broken when they shouldn't be. So let's see. These ones, maybe this one. Um, it's because I changed the rules about whether you can turn while holding certain things, while holding these artifacts. So let's re-record those because I think that just messed up the recordings in some way. Let's see. These levels are pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to go. Oh wait. Okay, we're going to smash that. Actually, let me. Was I recording? I don't know. Smash. Okay. But we don't want to smash any of these things. Whoops. Hmm. Oh, I need to go double on this and then endpoint on this. Okay. And then I need to go alter, whoops, alter, do that one, and then alter smash and blow those up. And then I should be able to go through this. Yeah, so I think that was just messed up by the rule change. All right, so let's do the other one. Okay. Whoops. We have to smash that rock. Okay. Gonna do double beams, go out here, bam. And then, how do I get that last one? I need like alter double. I need double horizontally and alter like that. So I go there, 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 there. I think, right? And then we go alter smash. And I do this. Did I record that? No. Dummy. Record. Record your things. Okay, double, double, there, there. Alter double. There, there, there. It's actually a much easier level than I was doing. Alter smash, ding, da da ding, da da ding. Okay. Bam. Okay, great. What is this one? I haven't even played this level. Maybe it's new. And that's why it's a fail. Oh, no, this is okay. This is definitely new. This is definitely, definitely new. So I'm not going to worry about that. Um, Dragon Clock, there's still some kind of inconsistent playback. That'll often play back correctly. And then some of these are legit fails that we have to deal with. Um, yeah. Okay, I'm going to check in those. And I want to play this level, so I'm going to put this up here. All right. The artifact turning change. Great. Great. I think it's breakfast time for me, people. This game is bananas. Yes, it is. Yes, this game is bananas. I don't know if I'm actually on now. I shut down the laptop and then reopened it. Okay, I'm on. So I hit, I just, the habit when I'm out working somewhere is I just do this. I go sleep and whatever. And I guess it decided not to sleep because it was streaming, but that's pretty funny. But okay, it's about time for me to go get breakfast. Um, Maybe Sean has good suggestions about 2D spline stuff. Um, anyway, any last questions about what we did today before I go off and get food in the world? Did we just fix some quirks with the diagonal lily? Yes. So last night, the last like 20 or 30 minutes of last night's stream, I was doing a very bad job of that. And this morning we came back and fixed it in like 5 minutes. And then started looking at further issues and like of more complex scenarios and realized there's more problems that I want to think about in cases like, oh, there's a block on the target lily. So we'll see about that. You don't have suggestions for learning 2D splines. I don't think it was about learning it. It was more just about how to handle things in a high quality way. Like how to do interpolation that actually looks nice is different from just setting up some splines, right? Do I see myself as an artist or do I consider my work more akin to engineering? I mean, I do both things, right? Game designers are definitely artists when they want to be. Sometimes they're not, right? But game design is definitely a form of art that you can do many things with, right? But it's also in this realm where programming is relevant. Programming well is difficult. So like all these things are in play. Will we be making an operating system? I mean, in the long term, maybe, but not in the next 5 years. I just got too much happening. All right. Thanks everybody for coming by. I'm getting food. I'll see you all later on. Let's stop the stream in a conventional way.